All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. I'm back again to make this same video for the nth time because I feel it's very important to the community. Now, timing is a very big issue, and sometimes Massive Ubisoft, as much as I love you guys are not necessarily the greatest on timing. Now, I have to concede this past year has been a crazy year. A lot of us have been affected. And another thing too is I somehow decided I wanted to go in and start learning the intricacies of game development, as in pick up a computer and try to build a prototype, that kind of learning. And I definitely get it to an extent now. I know and I feel at least some measure of the pain of game development, at least in the beginning phases. I mean, I don't know what it looks like down the road. If it's more painful, somebody let me know right now so that I can be ready. But what I want to ask about is something that we've been discussing in the community for a very long time. And because of how I feel it's really important to the community, I believe Massive Ubisoft basically needs to look at how they can implement this in a way that continues to drive home the point that they want the community to continue to remain tight-knit and, in a sense, have something to do right now as we're waiting for the next step, be it no Division game, Division 3, or Year 3 with a big huge map being added to it. Now, there's also the aspect of it depends on what's going to be coming down the future that may not have this, that may not have any room for this request. And from the title of this video, you guys already know what that request is, and that is Raid Matchmaking. Now, this is something that, a lot of people might say, well, it doesn't necessarily work. I get it. But another thing is a lot more of those people are not necessarily playing the game right now. Why? Because they've already played the raid in many cases. They've gotten their Eagle Bearer or their Ravenous or Regulus or whatever weapons are locked behind the raids. And in many cases, they are, playing other games right now and just waiting on the game to maybe make a decision, or the developers to make a decision as to what direction we're going to be going. And right now, we're having an influx of a lot of new players, and we also have existing players who are playing the game and have not had any opportunity to get into the raid at all, nor even just even explore its mechanics. And with all of that, it seems like the developers basically have an opportunity here to be able to add this matchmaking feature to the regular raid. Now, there is the discovery that allows for people to be able to go in, discover the mechanics, learn what the raid is about. But a lot of people will tell you that the discovery does not necessarily showcase exactly what the raid mechanics may look like. You actually do need to be in the raid scenario to understand exactly what needs to be done. I mean, I will give you a very good example. Buddy and Lucy is the example of team coordination. Pretty much, I think it's the height of team coordination in Operation Dark Hours. I mean, yes, the big Razorback could be an issue, but Buddy and Lucy could also hold a team if they're not well coordinated and they don't necessarily understand what they're doing. I haven't played Operation Iron Horse. I'm not necessarily interested in it. And to be honest, for somebody who's making this video and who has made different versions of this video, it's interesting that I'm not necessarily a raid person. I don't like them. I don't like the fact that we have to, be working on a mission with 7 other people. It's not my kind of thing. I think what's happened too is not necessarily that I'm being picky. It's just we've mainly enjoyed other kinds of raid-like content, but using, a smaller group of players to accomplish the goal at the end of the day. In the Division 1, we had incursions, and these were very small style missions, but the good thing about them was we had matchmaking as well. And I think it comes and boils down to the point where the development team don't necessarily see their community as being able to handle the challenges organically. I remember, kind of at the state of the game when they were first talking about the raid not having a matchmaking and all of that, they said something along the lines of, well, we feel like it's actually important if players are able to kind of coordinate and all of that. But at the end of the day, it seemed like they were somewhat doubting us. And if you think about it, if you think about the game, you have to go back and look at our community structure and makeup. A lot of what the community does is actually well documented, and there's, in my opinion, a tutorial for everything in this game. And people are quick and and apt and on their feet, and they can actually comprehend what these mechanics and these I would say missions or raid missions are demanding, and they're able to pretty much do very well. So using those mechanics and learning by trial and error, I believe that there will be people who may be patient enough to be able to knock out the raid. And even right now, there are people who are actually randomly joining just, teams and, pickups and announcements and are doing it. So the knowledge has actually permeated even more into the community. And so it makes a whole lot of sense that if there's any frustration that can creep up, that frustration is also right now minimized and reduced because of a lot of the exposure that we've had to this material in the community. Again, now that we already have a new patch with the 60 FPS patch, it also makes a lot of sense that before any new content comes, players can already start jumping into these raid missions, at a whim, and being able to kind of coordinate with new groups and all of that in order for them to be able to get in. Now, yes, there might be some who complain and say, well, some people are going to try to get into a raid without a microphone, and there's that risk as well. But at the end of the day, there's functionality that can also be organized in order to be able to filter, players who don't want to use a mic, because the raids are all about communication. I think they can do a setting that has a mic feature or a setting that has a group leader feature where you go in and you say, okay, I want to matchmake, but I want to be the group leader of my own raid crew, so that I can know who all has their comms ready to go. And if somebody doesn't have their comms, you have the option to be able to kick them out of your group. That's something that's very important, because as much as you guys want to kind of see if you can beat the raid as a random team, you also don't want to get frustrated because you can't communicate. So this one thing I feel is going to add another depth and another layer to everything so far that we're getting in the division. If you think about it, I think it's a very, very smart step to actually make. Now, I have basically, mentioned this on Twitter, and one of my buddies here in the community, colleague and division content creator, Mr. Kamikaze Von Doom, said, before PvP, I mean, he was basically alluding to the fact that it seemed that PvP needed a little bit more, of a look before this kind of stuff is implemented. And I want to make another video addressing that, talking a little bit about the PvP side of things. And I know I usually get pushback, but that doesn't really stop me anyways. I usually will talk about what I feel passionate about and what I want to say about a specific topic in the division community. And, I usually welcome everybody to weigh my arguments on their merits, because, sometimes I get the pushback saying, oh, you don't necessarily engage in this content. How can you gauge, or how can you measure? It's the same game that we're all playing, and all the systems usually kind of cross-wire and affect one another. So you don't have to play one aspect of the game in order for you to be able to kind of understand some of the other aspects. You can see their effects directly or indirectly if you basically study the game much more deeply. But when we get to that video, we'll talk about that. And as for this video, I believe the developers, the time has come for you guys to actually do this for the community. It's a big deal. I know I most likely won't be even using it. But I do see an opportunity here. And when we see opportunities, it's a very, very wise thing to be able to take them. So, Mr. Yannick, you're the associate creative director. I feel like you actually have the call for this. If you have a few devs that can actually pull this off, it's definitely going to go a long way. I know there might be an announcement coming down the road about, maybe new season, maybe new aspect of the game or whatever. And that's where I said in the beginning of this video, if there's maybe a year 3 content, it may not allow for this change to be made, because if there's year 3 content, they want people to continue to still come into the game and engage the content in the exact same way. But maybe this might be the selling point for a year 3 content, opening up the raid for everybody so that they can get those raid exclusives, and perhaps they'll be willing to purchase your DLC or purchase your expansion if that's a thing. But I'll get out of your hair right now. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And yes, I know there's going to be that, well, it's going to be this. Still, let me hear it in the comment section. Even though you've told me before that it's not going to work, that it's not a good idea, I still want to hear it nonetheless, because, I don't know, you might teach me something in this timeline. I'll get out of your hair, like I said. Talk to you all in another video. Thank you very much for your time and audience. Peace out.